I've never really thought about future competition. Normally, I look at well, what are the competitors doing right now? All right, we've got another exciting deep dive. We're going to go into a health and wellness business. So last week, if you haven't checked it out, we were talking about more like home services and custom cabinetry. This week, we're going to dive into a chiropractic care business, which is going to be interesting because we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference in marketing health and wellness as opposed to home services. And so hopefully Gabe can pull up his screen. Gabe is the head of our SEO team. And so he's got all kinds of tools so we can see how to do keyword research and search volume research and competitor analysis. And then we'll dive into some other stuff with regard to lead generation, social media management, and the like. But here we go. We got the Back Doctor. So in terms of SEO, what do you see on the Back Doctor, Gabe?
Yeah, this is completely different from last week. So just looking at keywords first off. So I'm starting with what people are looking for and what kind of keywords are going to lead to leads for them, lead to clients and customers. So chiropractor near me. So right here you have about 236,000. So almost 250,000 searches. And these searches are nationwide every month. So 250,000 searches for a chiropractor near me. And then that's my focus. So that's where I want to start. Then going back to their site, they offer some really specific services that some chiropractors don't, like infrared saunas and cold laser therapy. Those are the two that when I was doing some keyword research, those two kind of came up the most. So in terms of like keyword volume. So then coming back over here, infrared saunas, surprisingly, I mean, personally, I've never heard of an infrared sauna. Infrared saunas are searched 137,000 times per month. So that's right up there with chiropractor near me. And then there's the near me is a lot lower for some reason, but I'm going to go with it in terms of people searching for infrared sauna, especially kind of in that New Kent County area in Virginia. And then cold laser therapy is going to come in at about 9,000. So still a great search volume for cold laser therapy. And I don't know the intent so much on the infrared sauna. We have to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive on that. But infrared sauna and cold laser therapy, if somebody's looking for those, I want the Back Doctor to show up. The people who are searching kind of in the county where they're serving. So those are the three that kind of rose to the top for me. Was the chiropractor near me, of course, infrared sauna, and then the cold laser therapy. And then, like, if you want to go back and watch the video from last week, the service area is completely different, right? Same area, they're located in the same area, but the last week's client served Richmond, all the way from Richmond all the way to I think to the coast. Mm-hmm. So there's opportunity to show up for Richmond and all the way into the coast in a way that it's not for a chiropractor. My chiropractors are all over the place. So their focus area. So somebody who lives on the west side of Richmond, right, is probably not going to drive to the other side of Richmond and go to the county unless they really love this chiropractor. So some people do, but most people don't. So I'm focused on the specifically in their county. How do we show up the most for, like, I don't care about Richmond for this client as much as we did for the last client. So because of the like thinking through people who are going to show up at a chiropractor's office, they're just not going to drive as far as the kind of services that like the cabinet maker might have. So completely different intent, right? So then just looking at rankings, these guys are ranking number one. So chiropractor in Quinton, Virginia, which is the town they're physically located in. Chiropractor Quinton, Virginia, they're number one, and they're actually number two as well. And then they're number three. Their Facebook is number three. And then on the Chiropractic Association, the doctor from the Back Doctor is number four. So they're just dominating this SERP. And similar to last week's, there's nobody who shows up. So it feels like, I'm sure there are chiropractors in Quinton, but it feels like nobody in Quinton no chiropractor is doing any sort of good digital marketing work. because there's only one that shows up, and it's the back doctor. So they look good here, and then they look good in New Kent County. So you look in New Kent County, anybody who might not be like in Quinton proper, right? Like who might be in just New Kent in general, because Google in the counties, in the cities, Google wants to know that the person searching is like, if you're looking for a chiropractor in Louisville, it's going to give you a chiropractor in Louisville. When it gets into the county, it gets a little bit more kind of ambiguous. And sometimes they'll like spread out to the whole county. And even down here in their Google business listing, like if you come over here to Quinton, or sometimes it shows up at like their address is that they're in Quinton down there. Mm-hmm. And then, but you search for chiropractor in New Kent County and it calls them a chiropractor in New Kent County. So Google's thinking in more of a county area when you go out to the county. They're not thinking in like cities and towns as much. But in that light, they're still showing up number one. So they're number one here. And the New Kent local, by the way, Lee, shows up right here at number 8.
Oh, cool.
And so, they're showing up for just chiropractor near me. So there's not a lot of competition right now from the looks of it. One angle is to like the county is growing a lot, right? And so as it continues to grow, there's going to be more chiropractors that show up. So I want them to have that domain authority, like establish themselves for the next decade, 2 decades, do that good, consistent work. And they end up having a domain authority of a 10, of a 15. And we've built out this really good, healthy site for them as more come in, as the county grows. So that's kind of one angle I would take of like, I want to solidify them because they're really not very solid right now. It's just, there's nobody really doing any kind of work. So there's a lot of opportunity for somebody else to come in as another chiropractor and take their rankings because they haven't done a lot of work. So that's really interesting. That's one piece. Yeah. Then the infrared sauna.
Yeah, I want to inject something in here based on what you said. I think it's really interesting because I learned, I live in New Kent, by the way. So for anyone who's new to this, I learned that New Kent is the largest growing county in Virginia. And they did some kind of a thing. You know how we had the election just recently, and a number of people who voted in New Kent grew by like 20% compared to 4 years ago when we had another presidential election. So I think that was a pretty interesting statistic. And then what you said about not having like being number one, but not really having authority in it, like somebody else could come in and swoop it away. That's really, I've never really thought about future competition. Normally I look at like, well, what are the competitors doing right now? You know, what are other people doing that are doing better than we are right now? And maybe we can copy some of that stuff. But this particular situation is a different thing. And you're kind of opening my eyes to, okay, well, they're doing really well now, but it's just because nobody else is trying. And so if someone were to start trying, what do you think? What are some things that we could do to solidify the ranking so that when people do try, like when new people come into New Kent, which they clearly are doing right now, it's a booming county. And so in the future, when more chiropractors are here, what can we do to raise the bar so that it's harder to overtake the back doctor as opposed to just starting to do anything? And because we don't really have much of a standing, they just swoop us away.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is a situation where if somebody else who was another chiropractor in New Kent County came to us and said, hey, can you rank me? I would look at it and say, oh yeah, like I could see you guys at number 1 in, 6 months. Like, oh wow, it's very doable because there's a lot of things that haven't happened with the back doctor yet. And so, we're looking at their homepage right here. I mean, right now they have about 200 words on here and nothing's optimized. I mean, you go to their site right now, like they acknowledge that they're in the midst of working on their site. So like, I don't want to be like too hard on what's going on here, but like images and building out a really healthy homepage. I mean, I want to see their homepage at least quadruple in the amount of words, the amount of content that's on this page, because there's only a couple sections. There's 1-2 sections with copy in it. So a lot of good opportunity here to build out the homepage. build out services. I mean, you come over here and they're infrared in terms of rankings. They're not showing up for infrared sauna until you get down to number 8. So there's some good opportunity there. And then cold laser therapy, they are number 1, but there's not, like, if you go over here to cold laser therapy in New Kent County, so they're number 1 in Quinton, but in New Kent County, you come down here and they don't show up at all. Like, he shows up for the Chiropractor Association, but their site doesn't show up at all. And why doesn't their site show up at all? Because you come over here to cold laser therapy and it goes to their services page. So like they're, like they haven't optimized for the cold laser therapy at all. And then you come back over here to your infrared sauna, and there's the under construction again. Like, that comes to their services page as well. So like, they haven't optimized for that either. So a lot of great opportunity to just build out some of those pillar pages for their services. Because, right now they have services like corrective exercises. It's good to have services that you offer, even though you're like, from a marketing angle, it's good to have services that you offer that maybe you're not optimizing for SEO. Like, I'm not sure how many people are looking for corrective exercises that you're going to show up for in New Kent. But, you come over here to laser therapy and chiropractic care. So those are good. But you come down to laser therapy, and like, people are looking for like infrared down here, cold laser therapy. So people are looking for cold laser therapy and laser therapy right now. And so there's a great opportunity to optimize these pages, these service pages, and really just optimize the content, the headings, the images, and then just create other content, like that secondary content, whether it's through blogging or other kind of pages that we build as we go month to month, and send those all back over to those main pillar service pages. And then you have, so that's your on-page work. Their off-page work, like, there's some good consistent link building to do because they have a domain authority of a 2. So you do that over the span of 2 years, just a small trickle, right? Then you potentially have that domain authority in the 5 to 10 range. And now you're solidifying yourself from a new website that comes in with a domain authority of a 0, and they have a lot more work to do. So that's the off-page piece. And then I would pick like mostly the homepage, but building out some of those like link building exercises over to some of these service pages where we're building out some links to probably cold laser therapy and the infrared sauna. Those are the 2 that I'd focus on, just in light of the keyword data that I'm seeing. And then there's some technical stuff, like working on some page speed. Like, it just feels a little slow when you come to the site. So optimizing that page speed and making sure that loads really fast for users when they get there.
That makes sense. Another thing that as you were talking that popped into mind was, what about, so like, normally when people say, I want to get to the top of Google, they usually stop the question there. And they're like, what do I need to do to get to the top of Google? And I always think, well, get to the top of Google for what? For Absolutely. Chiropractor in New Kent, or for the laser therapy, or what about other topics? Like, it seems like there's lots of different concepts or ideas that you could rank for. Like, for example, sciatica pain or lower back pain from a sedentary lifestyle. If you're at the office and you're stuck in your chair all the time, your back hurts. Like, I can imagine that people would search their symptoms in addition to search the service. And I think it'd be probably a pretty good idea to have some like symptom-based pages or symptom-based content on the website, so that they could, rank for those types of searches as well. What do you think about that? Is that, before I answer the question, let me throw in one little twist. Do you feel like the educational content, like stuff like what is sciatica pain, do you feel like that's not as important as it used to be, because people go into AI and they just type what is sciatica pain, and then AI tells them without sending them to a local service business for it? Or is it still worthwhile to think of something like sciatica pain in a region like New Kent to try to get access to an actual person to help you with the sciatica pain? So is there such a thing as like symptom in location pages instead of service in location?
Yeah, it's if you start searching your symptoms, well, in the health world, that's going to be very different than like a niche. Like I have a client that's in like the electrical, like large electrical pieces, like explosion proof panel boards and like big things like that. Like there, so we've done some work on like answering the question of what is this and what is that and what is that, because there's not a lot of a competition, and there's we're able to get them to show up for, 11K searches a month, and they're number one, number two, because the competition was pretty realistic. When you get into the health world, showing up for what is sciatica pain, you get overwhelmed with WebMD and all these kinds of health related sites with huge domain authority scores in the 90s and the 80s. So so from an SEO perspective, you're probably not going to rank for those. And it all depends on how competitive those rankings are. But from a marketing perspective, it might be really good to talk about what sciatica pain is and send people to those. Like if somebody calls, you can send people to that page as opposed to sending people to WebMD or something. So there's a good marketing reason to have that information there. Is that going to rank when somebody looks for what is sciatica pain? Probably not. There's a good marketing angle, but back to the SEO. Yeah, right. Ranking organically. We'll talk about ads in a minute. And then I think my other kind of thought on that is like, if you get into, people are going to search their symptoms. And so if you can show up, Google's going to give you local results, most likely. In some form. And so if you can speak to the symptoms as opposed to just what you do, then you have even more of a chance to show up for people who are in New Kent County. So that's a great angle. Yeah.
What do you think, Robyn? It sounded like you had a thought about ads or social media or something else coming up.
Oh, for sure. No, I was thinking out loud a little bit, because I'm like, well, no, it would be really hard to compete organically with those kinds of things. But having the content there, definitely useful, and for various reasons, also for directing people and stuff like that. But yeah,
but if somebody's searching sciatica pain, right, and you're targeting ads in that area, then you have a great opportunity to show up, especially if you're targeting that specific region.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems great to have multiple pages that rank for stuff, so it's one thing, like if your homepage is ranking well for chiropractor and Quentin or something like that. But I just feel like it's cool to have more pages, even more properties. Like it was cool because I saw the Back Doctor their website came up. I saw them on the Chamber of Commerce when you were scrolling through. They're on New Kent Local, which is a business directory for New Kent. So their business is getting reference from other sources other than their website itself. And I think that's pretty cool, because then when you see that repetition, that also builds authority, even though it's not their own website, but it's linking back to their website. So that might you were talking about the offsite part, like the backlinks and building domain authority, I guess, through those backlinks. Maybe more of that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And showing up in as many places as you can is part of that too. And so whether that's Yelp or whether that's local listings, or people aren't just going to search on Google. And they're going to come into your site from so many different back doors. So how many places can you show up everywhere? And that's part of that, like that digital marketing work that a lot of people don't think about too. Is it's not just ranking on Google; it's showing up on the directory in your town, like in your Chamber of Commerce.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting too about the other services that you focused on in addition to the chiropractic stuff, because people may not even realize, like I have heard of the infrared sauna because I have a massage therapist here in town that offers it. So spas offer it. You don't necessarily think of a chiropractor, or I didn't, offering it. I honestly had no idea where to even look for that. So people are going to be looking for that service. Exactly. And that's a great way to have a lot of cross promotional services that are holistically serving their clients. And so having those symptom pages could also be helpful for that, for informing people, well, we can come at these symptoms in multiple ways, I would think.
What else caught your eye? So for anyone new to this, Robyn is the head of our ads and social media team. Gabe is the head of our SEO team. I tend to focus mostly on conversion rate optimization and lead generation and stuff like that. But what caught your eye? Like when you look at the back doctor and kind of think about just kind of their online presence overall, which would be social media stuff, ads stuff, Google business profile, the content on their website, the overall vibe about their branding. What sort of sparked in your mind?
Yeah, when we're looking at what Gabe was talking about, building out the pages as well as social media and ads, we want to really, when we approach projects with service-based businesses like this, we want to talk to them first thing about their foundation, which is their branding and their identity. And a lot of people think of branding as like their logo, which is all over the place. So good job. Like that's great. But there's more to the branding than just the logo and the colors and the fonts. I mean, that stuff is super fun for me. But also we've got like their tone, like their characteristics, like how do they view themselves? How do they want their customers and clients? What is that experience, with their personality, kind of their online personality. And you want that to be cohesive and consistent across the board in their copy, in their ad copy, in their social media posts. And so just having at every touch point that consistency, it like snowballs. And that momentum is really important. So we've got the SEO stuff. And then here in a second, I'll talk about social and ads. But if all of that is coming together in a consistent way, then it's all stacking, had to throw that in there, on top of itself and really giving them that edge for when those other businesses do come into town, because they're going to be established, they're going to be trusted. And when people hear messaging and have those visuals in various places online, it's only going to build. When your messaging and your branding is inconsistent, it's like you're reintroducing yourself every time, and you just lose that. Like you get more bang for your buck if you're consistent. So they are listed in various places. I would say just looking at their website, it's hard to say because, like Gabe pointed out, like they're under construction. So
right,
hard to tell.
Lots of grace. Lots of grace.
Yes, lots of grace. And so I noticed, I'm gonna do a screen share here really quick.
Okay.
For their social. I'm gonna try to keep messages out of this because I've got it pulled up on my, so we're gonna see how this goes. Okay. So if we're looking at their website and their social, I notice like they're very warm. That is an impression that I have on their social media is like, they like, this is so sweet. They've got, kind of some humor built in here. We've got people interacting and commenting and stuff like that. They're asking for opinions and, they're really putting a lot of personality into their social. You don't necessarily need to do that, full force in your website. Like social allows for a little more of that kind of language, but you do want there to be a similar tone and feel in the web copy that ties to social media, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying drop GIFs and make jokes on their website. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying like, just keep that tone in mind when you're coming across. And to kind of my thoughts on social were to, first of all, their Facebook is nowhere to be found on their website. So I would for sure, like down here, we've got the link here. I looked on their contact page, and again, it's not done. So, grace for sure. But we go to their contact page, which is the typical place where you'd find social links for people to connect. There's nothing. And so I would encourage them to incorporate, their social media into their website so that people who are researching them kind of want to get to know them a little bit. They're linked over here. They have a lot of really fun humor posts, and I think that that's great. Like, that's adorable. One thing that I noticed that comes across really unique is like they've got this skeleton guy throughout their posts, and it makes me giggle. I like, this is funny. Like, I enjoy that. That makes me think when I walk through the door, like, they're gonna know me by name, and it's gonna be really, it's not gonna be stiff. It gives me an impression of my experience when I walk in.
No pun intended.
Oh,
hey, that's funny.
No, it wasn't. But it was so good, and I wish I could say it was on purpose. Darn it. So definitely leverage that humor. Keep doing that. But it would also encourage them. I noticed, like, there's not always a call to action. And that's, when you're being humorous, it can be a little awkward to try to do that. So you want to encourage people to even just to comment below, like, okay, for instance, on this, she's back, and you got the little skeleton with the hat. I would encourage people maybe to give this photo a caption, something like that, just to get them, even if it's not going to the website, to get them to take some sort of action consistently, taking advantage of every post, every view, every interaction. The other thing that we like to look at is, with our quality of content, we really want some educational value posts. And that ties back to those service pages that Gabe was talking about, because if you have the services built out here, they've got a lifestyle advice page. Okay. If you've got it built out here, why not take some of the content and have it here? And so linking their social back to their website, also building out their email list, because we don't build a social audience for that sake alone, though that is useful. We also really like to point to, subscribe, get information, get special promotions or events. They do some stuff in the community, I noticed, like this post here talking about the free pantry. That's wonderful. I think that really speaks to their character. And so there's a lot to love about these guys. And I would just love to see a more cohesive presence on their social and their website. So yeah, one more comment there on social media is they have a great sense of humor. I would say tap into those reels and short videos. You could have a little value. You could have this guy giving people advice if you wanted. You don't even have to have, I mean, you could really have fun with it, which they seem into. I mean, that's like a first impression that I get just looking for minutes at their social account here. And so using video, it's people are intimidated by that. And so we tell people just, you can spitball, you don't have to plan this. You don't want to overly produce it anyway. People are off put by that, especially for local businesses. And so just kind of having a repository of content to pull from for video where it doesn't feel stiff and super produced and planned. And then just throwing those reels, having a goal of once a week, a reel into the mix. And I've got a lot of businesses that will actually post like this, and then they'll have us do their reels once a week or twice a week because they don't want to mess with it. Because it can be a little technically intimidating. And so we'll take their tone and that comes back to that branding is we want to mimic that tone and that branding consistently in their reels or whatever they're having us do to where it doesn't sound like two different people are talking on their social and website. It's really important that it sounds like the same person for the sake of recognition and also for the sake of trust. So those are my thoughts on social. And I do have thoughts on ads, but I wanted to stop there for a second and see what you guys had to say.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me too. With because especially when you started talking about the email list and everything, because it's so finicky out there if like your entire audience is on Facebook. In fact, just today, I think I posted to you guys that I was tagging everybody in our Facebook group. I did the everyone tag, and it said some people might receive notifications if you, because it used to, like just a couple of weeks ago, it seems it used to be like if you just tagged everyone, everyone got a notification. And now it's like if you tag everyone, some people might. So theoretically, that could be no notifications. Like it doesn't say some people will. It says, anyway, all that is to say that with organic posting on Facebook, it's just a guess as to who's going to see your stuff. But if they do, like some people will definitely see the stuff. It's not as consistent as if you were going to send an email to everyone. And especially if it's kind of like a one-to-one lead nurturing thing. Like if somebody, I totally, with health and wellness, I feel like this is definitely the case, maybe even more so with any other niche. There's people that are interested, but not quite ready to jump on board yet. Like it's not usually the case that somebody's like, I need a chiropractor. I found one on the web and immediately going to schedule an appointment. And it seems like you could have a couple, in fact, I've even jotted down 3 or 4 ideas for building the email list that we could drive if we're driving traffic from either SEO or social media, we can put these little lead magnets on the landing pages that people get to. Like when Gabe was talking about SEO, if we were able to rank some of the pages about maybe like sleep problems, like maybe I wake up in the mornings and my back is just a mess. And so maybe we could have like a tracker about what triggers your back pain, and you download the tracker and you make some notes. Or there could be a guide, like a how-to guide on how to orchestrate your sleep routine for more refreshing sleep, less back pain in the morning. A checklist would be good. Like we talked about the lower back pain in the office, like from a desk job or something. We could have a thing that says, hey, download our 5 exercises that you can do for better posture at work, or 5 exercises you can do while you're at work. And it doesn't even have to be a video. It could just be like little example stretches, little exercises. You're not doing cardio or whatever, but just stuff to get yourself not so stuck and sedentary.
They could have the skeleton do it.
You could totally you could use that as like their icon.
Yeah, I mean, it already is. And I think it's adorable and memorable. Like I don't live anywhere near there. And I think it's funny and I'd share some of that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Which is valuable, because even if you have people not in your area sharing stuff, it still broadens your reach. Like it tells the algorithm, because people don't always realize that there's like a test pool to see how far a post will go, and they'll test it with so many people. And then if it does well and they're interacting, it'll go to the next pool and it'll kind of expand like that. And so it'll be a mix of people in their area and not in their area. But I mean, yeah, it will definitely benefit them in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And then once you get the email, like, in fact, my favorite one was a quiz. I've noticed that a lot of people love to get like their health score. Or there's a company out there that's got I think it's called the Sleep Lab, where you put your phone near your bed while you're sleeping, and it can detect if you're snoring. Like basically all it is the microphone is listening to what you're doing while you're sleeping. And then depending on like how radical your snoring is, it can begin to, it doesn't diagnose sleep apnea, but it might say that you might have sleep apnea. You maybe should check this out. Or there's different mouthpieces that you can get to help with snoring without having to get one of those like machines. Those continuous air pressure machines. So, but the quiz is really interesting. So if you could just like fill out a couple of quick questions and get like a score, like your health score or something like that, your sore score, maybe something like how sore is your back? Mm-hmm. And it would be questions that have to do with to what degree does your back pain interfere with your day-to-day life? And then a score comes up and it's like, oh, wow. And you can sort of see where you compare to other people. And people just love that. I like that. I like to see, where do I fit in with other people? What is my score? Like all of that stuff. And then I'll stick my email address in to get the checklist or the how-to guide or my snore score or my back sore score or whatever. And then once they have my email address, then maybe, I don't know, I'm not bombarding people with a bazillion messages, but maybe over the course of the next week, I send maybe a message a day for 5 days or something like that to just to further educate people. Like, what do you expect when you come in? Here's us. Like, let me send you a picture of who you're going to see and what it looks like and where to park and what you should wear and just all the different stuff that you might not know when you're going to a chiropractor. answer a bunch of those questions. And then occasionally, not at every single email, but somewhere at the bottom of maybe 2 or 3 of those emails, say, hey, why don't you click here and just call us? Or why don't you click here, and if you put like an online calendar where you can book your own appointments, some doctors do that, where you can just schedule your own thing like through like a Calendly calendar. You could just push people to that call to action so that they can actually, be well educated. Like, you don't have to have the same conversation over and over and over with everybody, because a lot of that conversation has already been settled through the email opt-in and to the nurturing sequence. And that'd be really cool. And of course, once they become a client, then you can also say, we had this little idea of the nudger. We had this little nudger. It's basically a combination of a Google Sheet. So like, it's just like a basic spreadsheet and an email platform, and it's connected by Zapier. And so you just type in, when was the last time Gabe came in for his correction? And then we normally see Gabe every 6 weeks. And so if the 6-week date passes and Gabe hasn't come in because you haven't updated the spreadsheet when he went for his last visit, it'll just send an email. Hey, Gabe, we haven't seen you in 6 weeks. It's about time for you to schedule your appointment. Click here, call us, click here, whatever. And so that's kind of back end email marketing. But you can't do that if you don't have people's email addresses. And so I feel like it's such an important point for both the front end and the back end process for getting more customers coming through and more transactions from the customers you already have, which would be huge.
You bring up something really interesting about like the expectations at the chiropractor, things like that. I think there's a lot of myths out there, about people have concerns and things like that. And so those emails could be a great place. And then also for SEO, and I was curious Gabe's thought on that. I think he sees where I'm going with this, is like an FAQ page, because I noticed that there is not one. And that seems like an opportunity for both ranking and for, kind of helping them understand a little bit more about what their services can do. And
yeah, I love those FAQ
finding
pages.
those concerns. Yeah,
those are helpful. And then even putting like the service specific FAQ on each of those pages, it's just a great, like, people are asking those questions, and why not answer them and, ask valuable questions, give valuable answers, and use that to talk about those keywords that we're focusing on too. It's just like, that's easy, Yeah. And most people don't think about that.
You can put those on your Google business profile too. You know how that has the Q&As. So one of the things that's really interesting about the Google business profile is I rarely see people take advantage of 3 things that I would love to see people take more advantage of. One is the Q&As, where you can even ask yourself questions. So by the way, the Q&A on a Google business profile is not for you to get support from Google about something that's going wrong with your profile. It's not all the time, but occasionally I will see someone go onto their own Google business profile and then ask a question like, I actually have 2 Google profiles, one from my old location and one from my new location. Can we merge those together so I don't lose all my reviews? Like stuff like that. That's not the Q&A. That's not what it's supposed to be. The Q&A is supposed to be for your customers asking you questions about your service, and you can then answer them. But you can also ask yourself questions about your own service from the FAQs. Like if you know that people often say, what do I need to wear to a chiropractic adjustment? Because you don't want to wear like a suit and tie. You probably need to dress appropriately or whatever. Or just whatever comes up, you can put those on your own Q&A. So Q&A is one thing. And then treating the services as products is another thing that's really huge, where you can actually post a product on your Google business profile and then link that back to your services page. That's a big one. And then obviously reviews are huge as well. I'd like to just constantly ask people to write and leave more reviews. One thing that we didn't talk about that maybe we could have is the importance of synchronizing the hours on your Google business profile.
That was on my list. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it, but that was on my list too. I'll share my screen and show you.
Okay.
Go ahead and keep talking, Lee.
Yeah. So I've seen people that if you just synchronize the address and the hours, that you can go from not even being in the map pack or not even showing up very much at all for your Google profile to suddenly you're near the top because Google has all this confidence. Well, it says one thing here, it's exactly the same over here. It must be right. And if Google doesn't know if you're open or not, they're not going to send people to your stuff. Because basically the bottom line with everything that any search engine does, including Google, is they want people to feel like they're getting accurate and trustworthy results. And if someone needs to go to see a chiropractor and then you send them to a chiropractor and they're closed, they're gonna be like, well, that stinks. I wish they were open. Why can't you send me somebody that I can actually call? And so if the hours are the same in both locations, then Google's like, oh, well, it must be consistent. It must be right. And then that boosts your authority. And then you get much more visibility. So what were you saying about it?
Yeah. And right now their hours are not consistent. So, like you look at Monday, 8:30 to 1, like they have a break there. And then you come back over here and their Monday is just 8:30 to 6 straight through. So, I mean, I could change it, but you can come over here and you can add different hours and you can break those out so that it reflects when they're actually open. And because I know chiropractors, like they tend to close for a couple hours and then they open again later. And so like, that's just an easy fix that you can come in here and you can edit those. And like as the owner and then you're done, so you're checking your address, making sure that your name, your address, and your phone number are all the same. The phone number looks great. Name looks great. Address looks great as well, I believe. And then so for right now, where are they at? Yeah. So address looks good too. And so hours are a great opportunity. The products as the service are a great opportunity. Then you can send those links. I think, Lee, like you said, send those links all the way back to those specific service pages. And it just really helps build out the whole profile. And they're doing great on reviews. I think they're, and it looks like they're intentionally doing that work. And and that's another area we were talking about before of just kind of blowing everybody out of the water before more people get there. I mean, if they have 150 reviews before somebody else moves in, then you're in a good spot. I mean, so don't stop just because you're further than anybody else right now. Just make it a habit and continue to ask for the reviews and continue to build that up to by the end of 2026, they have 150 reviews. That's awesome. And those stick around.
And posting on there also seems to really help.
Yes.
Kind of, and you can do a lot of the same content. I mean, not exactly the same. Like, I don't know that I would do everything that they post on Google Business Profile, but that they have on Facebook. But a lot of those value posts, answering those questions, things like that is really helpful. And people don't realize not only is it good for the local SEO aspect, but when you link your Google Business Profile to your search ads, your pay-per-click ads, if you choose to do that through Google, then that will allow that profile to show up as a sponsored ad in the map pack, which is really helpful, showing up in more places because that will show up before the search results quite a bit. And so just a lot of the things that you do, I think it's interesting. A lot of things that you do for the organic SEO greatly improve your ad quality. So that consistency is really helpful for that. And while they might not run ads, I would say, practically speaking, for chiropractor near me, doesn't seem like they need to at the moment.
Yeah.
It could be useful only because we always like to start with search pay-per-click ads because we can see what search terms convert best. So we can see that people are searching and clicking, but which one of those clicks turned into a phone call, which one of those clicks turned into a form entry. And so that is really useful information you could take that information and utilize it in the SEO campaign as well. And so they might, do that for that can be helpful. The other thing would be kind of what we touched on earlier, some of those really competitive questions, you're competing with WebMD or whatever, those can be used in an ad campaign to capture that traffic where people aren't searching. They don't know that they're looking for a chiropractor. They know that they hurt. They know they have sciatic pain. They don't really know what to do about it. And so those kinds of searches that are so competitive and take a good amount of time to rank for, maybe it's like, you're dealing with huge competitors, the ads can be a great way to get around that and still show up for those people.
That's good advice.
Great idea.
Maybe we can wrap it up with this. I had one little, I know this has kind of gone a little bit longer than normal, but I'll wrap it up with this one last thing. We were just looking at the reviews.
Yeah.
About, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, I reached out to Cecilia, who works at the Back Doctor. It's like a husband-wife kind of thing. I think the husband is the chiropractor and the wife kind of manages everything else. And so I reached out to Cecilia and I said, hey, would you like to have this Google review app? I had this little mobile app that you can put on your phone and you can just hit like a couple of buttons. Like you can like send a text or send an email that's got like a Google review link in it. And I said, would you want to just use it? It's totally free, whatever. And our app will let us know how much activity it's getting. There's no privacy. It's like, I can't tell who's clicking what or who's writing reviews or anything. I can just tell that it's getting used. So basically we just have it set up like that so we can tell it's not broken. And, but I noticed that they've had like maybe 15 or 16 unique clicks on the review app. So they're using the links, and I think they had maybe 28, 29, 30 reviews. So it looks like maybe even half of them, maybe, I don't know, might have come from using our Google review app. So I then I just by chance a couple of days ago, I wonder what's going on with the Back Doctor. And I looked at the website and I saw that little under construction thing that had popped up. And so I messaged Cecilia. I said, hey, Cecilia, it looks like your site's under construction. Just wanted to reach out and just say if there's anything I can do to support you guys or help, just let me know. And she's like, oh, Lee, it's great to hear from you. They're so nice. Like Robyn's take on it was just right on. Like they're so nice. The people are just great. And she's like, I'm really slammed right now, but we had tried to work with a web agency that they met at a conference, but it wasn't working out. And they're trying to revert back to what they had before, which is why they still have the under construction stuff. And she's like, I'm really slammed right now, but as soon as things lighten up, I'm going to get right back to you. And I thought that was really encouraging for me, because what if I hadn't done that? What if she wasn't using my Google review? What if I was just a stranger and I said, hey, I saw your stuff is under construction? She probably wouldn't even open the message. And even if she did, she probably doesn't trust us because she doesn't have any relationship with us in the same way that she does now because she's using this app. So I think that's a really cool example of like small favor marketing, which we talk about a ton in the other videos, really coming to life in a way where Cecilia's better off, like it's helping them for free. They could never work with me and continue to use the app forever, and it's totally fine, but it's benefiting them. They're getting reviews. Their profiles got perhaps as many as half of the reviews on the profile might have come from that app, since they've had 15 or 16 unique clicks. And when they have a situation where they're kind of stuck with their website, we can just reach out. And they know that we support them. We know that we're doing something. They know that we're not just trying to take advantage of a vulnerable situation or whatever, because we're building that trust. And whenever they're ready to get the help, I have a feeling we're going to be either at the top or near the top of the list of the teams that she's going to be considering working with, especially since we're also local. She's just down there. I live in New Kent. She's in Quinton. We're like 15 minutes apart. So I think that's a really cool example of small favor marketing for the win.
For the win.
Awesome. Well, all right, guys. Well, that sounds awesome. We'll do another one of these deep kind of double stack dives next week. So if you have anyone that you'd like to see us review, like maybe you're working with a client or you have a question about, I don't know, one of your own projects that you're working with, just let us know in the comments. Just say what the business name is. Let us know where they're located. So we need to know both the business name and the location so we can find the Google business profile. And some of the other SEO stats kind of depend a little bit on the location. So just let us know that, and we'll do like a double stack deep dive for you and your clients, and you can kind of benefit from all of that as well in that way. So if that sounds good, drop it in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.